Today's talk is about children. Last Thursday, we had some lively music playing on our speakers on Bluetooth, and we had a very cute young child dancing around and having a great time with Tony. The child clearly had no idea what was going on with her family or why they were here, and I'm glad for that. But that led me to make this week's talk about the impact on children. I read in the New York Times that the number of children in ICE detention has declined dramatically in weeks. As of March 20th, there were just 53 children in detention at the Dilley Immigration Processing Center. That's down from a peak of over 500 in January, but we are still detaining children. The Times noted that the administration has shifted to a more targeted approach after the fierce backlash to Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota. They were forcefully told that the American people felt that ICE's tactics had gone too far. Go figure. Americans don't like hearing that children are in detention. Who knew? Of the practice of detaining children, Elora Mukherjee, a professor at Columbia Law School who has represented families at the Dilley facility in Texas, says Dilley wrecks them physically and emotionally. Vilma Batista was detained there with her 9-year-old autistic son, Kenneth, and was released recently. She reported that while at Dilley, Kenneth hit himself, screamed, and called for his aunts in Louisiana. Vilma and Kenneth came from Honduras in 2021 and have a pending asylum claim. Kenneth may have to repeat the 4th grade because of the time that he's missed. You may recall the story of Liam, the 5-year-old from Minnesota with the blue bunny hat. He and some of his classmates are now afraid to play on the playground at recess. Some of his classmates have parents who lost jobs while at Dilley, and the families are under financial stress. One family returned to Minnesota to find their home being rented to someone else. Shame. What emotional price are these kids gonna end up paying? What toll are their parents going to pay? Those of you who subscribe to the Justice for All Substack know that I've been analyzing data on Burlington from the Deportation Data Project. In that data, ICE has a data field labeled possibly under 18, which shows that 17 children have been detained in Burlington in 2026. We don't have ages in that data set, but in the data on arrests, you can see that they arrested a child who was born in 2024. There were 3 more children with birth dates in 2023. Yep. I'd say that if your birth date is in 2023 or 2024, I would say that you just might possibly be under 18. I guess math is hard for some people. These are babies or toddlers. What on earth does it mean to arrest a toddler? My question to ICE would be, what the hell is wrong with you? But the cruelty to children isn't limited to their detention. I recalled a news story about a preschool teacher who was arrested in her Chicago school last November. She had a work permit and a pending asylum claim, but that didn't prevent armed ICE agents from entering the school without a warrant and arresting her in front of her children. As they often do, ICE lied about the arrest, saying they tried to pull over, but the male driver refused to pull the vehicle over, and they ran into a daycare and attempted to barricade themselves inside. Footage from security cameras showed that this was pure BS. That one hit close to home for me, as my wife works at a preschool. Her co-workers include women from Egypt, Ghana, India, and Ukraine, just to name a few. For every preschool teacher, I know that there are at least 10 parents in the workforce. The owner of that preschool has had to think about what they would do if ICE came. The Boston Globe reported about the disruption to local preschools. They tell of a 28-year-old woman who came to the U.S. legally on a humanitarian program in 2023 who could no longer work due to her vulnerable immigration status. Quote, "I love children. I just love working with them," she said. "I miss the children. I miss my coworkers. We were like family." Some of her former students still ask about her. Quote, "She was the light that my 2-year-old son looked forward to seeing every morning, and now she's gone," said a parent at the school. Roughly 1 in 3 early childhood education workers in the Boston area is an immigrant. Researchers from Arizona State estimate that 39,000 foreign-born workers have left the childcare industry since Trump's inauguration. In March, WBUR's Rachel Sanchez-Smith reported that right here in Massachusetts, children often appear before judges in immigration court to fight their own deportation without their parents. Some appear in person, some on video, but it's not unusual to see children of 7 or 8 years old summoned to court. On several occasions, WBUR was able to watch group hearings for long lists of children known as master sessions. Most children appear by video, but the ones who show up in person are frequently unaccompanied because their parents fear being detained by immigration agents themselves. The WBUR article includes a story about a man named Juan from Honduras with 2 children, an 8-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. Juan said at one hearing, a judge told him that without a lawyer, his children would have to represent themselves in court. What does that even mean? How does an 8-year-old represent themselves at court? They shouldn't be at court. They should be in school learning how to add and subtract. Juan told WBUR that if they receive their deportation orders, I don't know where they would go. Our whole family is here. At one point, Juan had hired an attorney who was charging $10,000 for each of the 2 children. After falling from a roof at work and injuring his back, the legal fees have become impossible to pay. Juan sounds like a typical father to me. Quote, "You want your kids to be even better than you," he said, "to reach things that you never could." Court records for juveniles are not publicly available, hearing times are not posted, and the schedules are usually not available. Shayna Aber, executive director of the Acacia Center for Justice in Washington, D.C., said, "We don't want there to be secret courtrooms where people's life and death decisions are made. We have to be able to protect the right of the public to know how justice is being administered in this country." All of these limitations on legal access and public access at the court are really undermining our commitment to children, their well-being, and their safety, she said. This is not what we want justice to look like in a country of laws. Nationwide, 900,000 children faced deportation in 2025, according to data analyzed by the Vera Institute of Justice. Some of these children crossed the border unaccompanied. In other cases, their parents have been deported, are detained, or are in deportation proceedings themselves. Boston immigration attorney Max Gonzalez, who works on juvenile cases, said, given the government's current hardline stance on immigration, he has largely stopped encouraging people living in the U.S. without legal status to start asylum cases. Quote, I advise people to stay under the radar, Gonzalez said. At this point, there's no benefit to putting yourself in proceedings. He said ramped up enforcement has led to more family separations with children left behind when parents are detained or deported. Children do not belong in detention at Dilley or here in Burlington. Children do not belong in immigration court. Children should feel safe at school. Their parents should feel safe dropping them off. I can't believe that these are positions that we need to speak about. I'm so thankful that Tony was here last week and that she started giving out free food on Thursdays. I'm glad that Lydia is here most weeks distributing age-appropriate books. And I'm glad that Susan started giving out teddy bears. All of those efforts just might make things a little better for a child here. We shouldn't have to do those things because children should never have to come here in the first place. As always, I thank you guys for listening.